Hey, what's up, everybody? Blind Spot here, bringing you my first Red Faction Guerrilla port into Far Cry 2. The map is Sandpit, and it was a lot harder than I expected. So I'm going to run you through RFG Sandpit first. So here you have Raised. This is where I started in Far Cry 2. It was a nice point to start. As you can see, there's a fence, there's a barrier up there. And now I'm moving towards Firepower. Moving from here into an open field, kind of. You have Pistol Rock, you have Sniper Rock. Over there you have kind of like a rock pile leading up to the smokestack on top. As you can see in Sandpit on Red Faction, there's a bunch of fences that divide the map. That's one thing I had to overcome when I started mapping Sandpit for Far Cry 2. Down here you have the pit, kind of empty, fences, barriers, a few other objects here and there. And from there you have rail building. You have a smokestack up there. Rail building has that like fenced-in area to its left. Moving along the map, you have fences. There's tons of fences in this map, usually odd-shaped. Past the fences you have second building, Rhino building, and then you have these pipes that kind of block the way, so that's something else I had to deal with. Down here you have radio tower. Moving from radio tower you have smokestack, jetpack. You have a comm tower right behind heal. These are all things I had to take into account when I started mapping for Far Cry 2. I mean, I was in Sandpit for like 30 minutes just mapping out on paper, trying to figure it out. Then here you have the Gauss rifle rock. All things I had to write down, all things I had to take into account. Everything I'm showing you is something that I had to think about, whether I would put it into Far Cry 2 or not, whether it would look good, and overall how I was gonna overcome the different looks and different feels of the game. Especially since RFG is third person and Far Cry 2 is first person. And even along the back of Sandpit, you see how there's mountains in the background and the map doesn't feel empty and isolated, all things I had to take into account. And this is it in Far Cry 2. I'm starting at Raised again, same spot I started in Sandpit. You can see the similarities. The rocks are in the same place. I tried putting fences in the same place. But a major difference you're going to see is that there's vegetation. I didn't have vegetation when I first started mapping Far Cry 2, and it looked too empty. So I knew I was going to have to do something to make it look not only good, but also playable. So moving from here, the actual map you see, there's Pistol Rock and Sniper Rock in the same spots. You have Firepower building in the same spot. I even put in the rock pile over here so that you can climb up the wall and get onto the top of the map. You can see that since there was no smokestack building object, I had to settle more like it for radio towers. Then I'm down here in the pit. I have the lower elevation. I put in kind of like propane tanks and gas tanks, make it look like it had not only an actual purpose, but kind of similar to what it was in Sandpit in Red Faction Guerrilla. I made this area next to rail building tighter to make the map smaller. The pace in Far Cry 2 is much slower for many reasons, so that's something I had to take into account. But I kept going along with the map. You can see the fences in the same spot, but there are openings in the fences because they aren't destructible in this. I wasn't able to keep them closed off like in Red Faction. Same with the pipes. I made it so you can walk under them, but they're still there. Here is the radio tower area. So, like those control points are in the same area too. There would be the one smokestack in Red Faction Guerrilla. I have the comm tower here. I have heal in the same area. Moving along, I kept the fences in the same area. I tried to keep the fences in the same area so it would play the same. I even have this Gauss rifle rock in the same area too. So as you can see, I had to settle a lot, but I also I feel like I did really good. I have the mountains in the background. So although I settled on a lot of things, I felt that the map is very close and looks very good. Now, making the map was far harder than I thought. I thought I could just come in here in an hour or two, just throw it together. Unfortunately, it was nowhere near that easy. Now, for the outsides of the map, I use rock objects instead of actually building them myself. These look better. I can put them together very nicely. And they did everything I needed them to. First thing I did was put 2 rocks from side to side, count 20 seconds in between them from running, so I could get the. And then I did it for going the other direction. This way I could get roughly the same size for both games. That was my first problem, and then I put rocks around the edge. Then I needed a point to start, some reference point that's out of the way, and that would allow me to create the map with roughly the same scale. The point I chose was raised. I did this because not only does it allow me to get a good judge for elevation, but it was also in the corner of a map, a small area that I could start, but also allowed me to move on with the rest of the map. From there, I went on to the side. I did the open field with firepower and sniper. I then moved on to the pit, circling the map. I did rail building, just trying to keep it open. Then I did rhino building to the side, radio tower. Then I did jetpack because it was out of the way, jetpack and smokestack. I slowly moved on to heal, trying to keep elevations the same. And then I finished the map by doing the top and making the ramp down to the side. Once I had all the basic buildings and elevations in place, that's when I went back and started adding detail. I even put detail inside the buildings, but the rest of the detail to make the map seem less empty, more like it could be an actual place. I tried keeping the detail out of the way. I have a few vegetation here and there, but like rocks and other objects that I put in, I tried keeping them out of the main pace of the game so that it would still play like it does in Red Faction. The map is roughly the same sized, so that was something I was really happy with. It looks very similar, at least in my opinion. And the last thing I did for the map was the outside. I used the noise tool, just raised up some ground, made them look like mountains, painted them so that anyone who actually looked would tell that it's different from the actual ground. And that way, just like in Red Faction Sandpit, my map, my port, also feels like it's not empty, isolated. It actually feels like it could be a real place. And that is how I created, or ported, Sandpit into Far Cry 2. If you have any suggestions or changes you think the map should have, please tell me. And thanks for watching.